All right, so we are on page 435 in your math book on solving systems of equations using other methods like substitution and um, linear combination or elimination method. So what could we do first to begin to solve this equation right here? I've got 3x minus 8y equals 12 and 4x minus 7y equals 8. Now, hopefully you're looking at this and you're going, oh, you know what I would do? I would do this. And then you would be able to follow through on that. But maybe you're looking at it and you're going, you know what, Mystery, I have no idea. And that's okay too, because we're going to do our very best to get you there. So here's what I would do. I'm going to type this in. The first thing I would do for this equation is I would multiply the first equation by, how about 4? I'm going to multiply the first equation by 4 and the second equation by, how about -3? That seems like a reasonable thing. And the reason for that, when I do that, I could eliminate the x variable. Solve for y. Now, maybe you don't see it. Yeah, that's possible. But that's what I would do. See, I would go through here and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to multiply this one by 4. And I'm going to multiply this one by -3. Because when I do that, this and this, I would end up with 12 and -12. And those x's would be gone and I could solve for y. So that's what I would do first. Now, this says, question number 2 then says, solve the system of equations given in question 1 by using your first step of your solution. So we can do that. We can certainly do that. And so let's begin that process. So first, 3x minus 8y equals 12 and 4x minus 7y equals 8. Okay, and the plan is, here's my plan bar. That's my plan bar. I'm going to multiply by 4, and in this one, my plan is to multiply by -3. It's always good to have a plan. So when I do that, and when I do, I'll take 3x times 4 is 12x. -8y times 4 is -32y. And 12 times 4 is 48. Okay. Now, the next one, follow through on my plan. 4x times -3 is -12x. -7y times -3 is positive 21y. Got to keep track of those positives and negatives. And 8 times -3 is -24. I don't know if you noticed, but I always underline everything, so I make sure that I've multiplied everything by the number that is in my plan. And remember, anytime you have a question, if you have a question, you can just type a question mark into the chat, and I'll be happy to pause the recording and address your question. All right, so now here we are. I can combine the left side and the right side of my equation. 12x and -12x, when I combine them, they just drop out. They become nothing, which is nice. -32 and positive 21, I would get -11y. And positive 48 and -24 would give me a positive 24. Now, all I have left to do is solve for y by dividing by -11 on both sides of my equation. Those cancel each other out, and I get y equals -24/11. Well, that's a weird thing to end up with, but that's okay. That is That's the solution for y. Now, I'm going to hold off on solving for x because unlike you, I know what's around the corner. And looking ahead here, right around the corner says, why is the following plan a good way to solve this system? Well, because when you look at this, this is exactly what I planned to do. Why is it a good plan? Well, because it eliminates the x variable so I can solve for y, just like what I said. I'm going to type that in there. Why is it a good plan? Well, it eliminates the x variable so it can be solved for y. Bloop. There we go. That's why it's important. Now, the next thing, the cool thing here is, look, number 4 says solve the following system for y using that plan. Well, you can see that their plan, it's like they copied my plan. It's like they got inside my head. And we already solved for y using that given plan. And there it is. Y equals negative 24/11. You're welcome. Right? Okay. Now, there was another way that we could have attacked this system of equations to solve the whole thing. And we're going to find out what that is in number 5. It says to solve the system using this plan instead. We're going to solve for x. So we're going to solve for x using this plan. Now, look what they did. They took this and they multiplied by 7 and negative 8. Now, hopefully, when you're looking at that, you're going, oh, I know exactly why they did that. I hope that's what you're seeing. But let's do exactly what they say. We're going to follow their plan. So 3x minus 8y equals 12. And 4x minus 7y equals 8. And their plan is to multiply by 7 and multiply by negative 8. Okay, so let's do it. 3x times 7 is 21x. Negative 8 times 7 is negative 56y. And 12 times 7 is 84. All right, next equation, 4x times negative 8 is negative 32x. Negative 7y times negative 8 is positive 56y. And 8 times negative 8 is negative 64. Okay. So now, here we are. We've got they've been rewritten. And check this out. We can, when we go to combine these, negative 56y and positive 56y cancel each other out, so that my 21x and my negative 32x can be combined to make negative 11x. And 84 combined with negative 64 is positive 20. Now, I can solve for x by dividing by negative 11 on both sides. Negative 11 and negative 11. Now, when I do that, I get x equals 20 divided by negative 11. Well, that's going to be a negative because it's a positive. Divided by a negative gives me a negative. And all I really have to do is just write down that fraction, and that's okay. If you want to turn it into a mixed number, that's all right too. But it's not necessary. Negative 20/11 is okay. X equals negative 20/11 is perfectly okay. Now we've solved for y and we've solved for x. So now this next one, number 6, it says write down the steps for using linear combination method. Well, okay, we could do that. But I think What I would rather do is, hold on a second. I think I can make this happen. If I still have it there. I do. There it is. So check this out. I'm just going to enlarge this, and we're going to use this to go from, because these are the steps. And I'll give you some time to write these down. As necessary, eliminate the coefficient of one of the variables. Multiply the first equation by the opposite of the coefficient of the x term of the other equation. That's what we did. Remember, we multiplied by 4 and -3 to get 12 and -12. Or in this case, we multiplied by 7 and -8 to get -56 and +56. We want to eliminate that one variable and coefficient combination so that we can solve for the other. And that's what the step 2 is. Solve for one variable by adding the 2 left sides and adding the 2 right sides, which is what we've been doing this whole time. And then once you've solved for that one variable, you substitute that back into the other equation and solve it for the second variable. And then, of course, like always, with any good math skill, you want to check your solution for both equations before moving on, because there's no point in moving on if you don't have the right solution. Now, if that sounds too wordy and you want to write it in your own words, that's probably best. And I would encourage you to do so. But I'm just putting that up here. And if you need to finish it later, you can always write these steps down as you watch the video of this lesson later on. I'm going to move on just a tad here. And the next question, and maybe this would be something that you could do on your own in your math book, and that would be I'd like you to work on number 7 before tomorrow, so that, and it's pretty easy. Consider the following system. Complete the puzzle to describe 2 different correct strategies for solving the system. So looking at these strategies, you have these 3 number choices to plug into these spots. So what I'd like you to do is stick with this strategy, see what you need to do, and then move over to the other strategy. What would you do in this one? Do your best to fill this in before our next lesson tomorrow.